Back in 2023, I ran a 41.5 minute 10k and I was really struggling. Yesterday evening, I broke my personal best and got a time of 36 minutes and 9 seconds. And it was a training race for me, meaning I didn't taper at all. So in just about 2 years, I made a 5-minute improvement in my 10k.
Granted, the 10k in 2023 was a bit long and it was super hot.
But no matter which way you cut it, it was definitely not a 3:36 pace like yesterday. In this video, I'll do a short recap of the race, including the drama that happened and also how I actually trained for it, and give some 10k specific tips. So here's how the race went. There were a couple of big names in the race, such as Vanessa, a national runner, represented us for SEA Games, Keen, who can run a 32 minutes 10k, but he's here to do a tempo run, Shoaib, who has always been consistent since we've been racing together in high school. He still looks the same as 10 years ago. And Richard, his seat time was 34 minutes and he was there to pay Shoaib for a good time. 25 laps on the track to go, and from the first second, Keen moved to the front and he was way ahead already. We were never gonna catch him. So I found myself second behind Keen in the first lap, and my first lap was in 1 minute and 24 seconds. It was fast for me even though I felt controlled and comfortable. From the second lap onward, Shoaib and Richard moved in front of me, and of course I'm gonna take their drive and lock onto them. I think the next lap, Vanessa overtook me and she was sitting behind Richard and Shoaib. Then a few laps after that, Isaac overtook me and ran behind Vanessa, and that's when I realized I was the last in our pack. It was just 5 of us. So thanks to Richard and Shoaib's pacing, breaking the win for us, the first 5k was in 18 minutes and 5 seconds. I was wondering when they were gonna go for it. I thought if I was feeling comfortable, surely those guys faster than me must be feeling better. Things stayed exactly the same until about 7 kilometers, where Isaac said he was gonna stop at that lap. I asked him if he was gonna continue, then he said okay, he can just do one more. He was doing so well, but unfortunately with only 2.4 kilometers to go, he dropped out of the race. So it was Richard, Shoaib, Vanessa, then me now. In 8 kilometers, the group broke. I think Vanessa slowed down first, then Shoaib shortly after. So I overtook them just by maintaining the same pace. I asked Richard if he was gonna wait for Shoaib. He said yes, and I gave him a fist bump and I continued ahead. I didn't speed up or anything. When you're running, you can't really do math, and I didn't realize I was at 34 minutes 54 seconds with 1 lap to go. Only then I realized I could have made it under 36 minutes if I knew I was that close. I went hard on the last lap, but I knew it wasn't gonna be 1 minute and 6 seconds to sub 36 minutes for the 10k. I did 36 minutes and 9 seconds on my watch, meaning the last lap was in 1 minute and 15 seconds. And that means my second half was exactly the same as the first half at 18 minutes and 4 seconds. So I broke my personal best by 13 seconds. If you watch my 100 miles a week video I did last year, I got a 36 minute and 22 seconds PB there without any paces. So even though I got a PB yesterday, I believe I'm actually about the same fitness as last year. Only after I got home, I realized most of us were disqualified. Turns out the officials DQ'd us because running behind someone was considered assistance. It was that or male and female aren't allowed to pace each other, or we cannot pace athletes that are lap or are lapping. Honestly, I'm still confused about the correct rule, but I don't really need to worry because my goal is middle distance triathlon, and this race was literally a training race for me. It was a fun 10k threshold with the guys. In the end, most of us were given back our results and I got second behind Keen. He did 33 minutes and 35 seconds effortlessly. That's 3:21 pace. He could even celebrate at the end. So he's really in good shape now and still improving so fast. After 10 years, I could finally keep up with Shoaib. Vanessa also got her personal best at 36 minutes 51 seconds, and that's 24 seconds off the Singaporean female record. So I think she's gonna break it soon. Now let's dive into exactly what I did leading up to this race. As I mentioned, it was a training race meant to be my threshold run for the week. I'm training for a triathlon called T100, and that's 50 days more in Singapore. The run for that triathlon is 18 kilometers, so that should be my tempo pace and not my threshold. But still, a threshold run will help increase my tempo pace because when we're training at LT2, we're gonna move the lactate curve to the right, meaning our tempo pace would be faster. So here's the tip if you're training for a 10k or actually any other race. Identify what energy system you're gonna be at during the race. Energy system means like above VO2, VO2, threshold, tempo, and zone 2. For longer events like a half Ironman or Ironman, it's usually in zone 2. For 10k, it's definitely a threshold or above threshold effort. Unless your 10k is above 1 hour, then it might be a tempo effort for you. After you know what energy system you're gonna be racing in, do that as the last workout 3 to 4 days before the race. For example, I'll do a 30 to 40 minute threshold workout before a 10k race. For a half marathon, I'll do 1 hour to 1.5 hours of tempo. This is what I call the most important workout because it's targeting the specific energy requirements during the race. And once you recover and absorb this workout, it's gonna give you the biggest boost for the race. So what's a threshold workout? There are 2 lactate thresholds, meaning there are 2 distinct paces where your blood lactate rises. Your LT1 and LT2. Threshold commonly refers to LT2, which is your theoretical 1 hour max effort. During training, you might only be able to do this effort for 30 to 40 minutes only. So your threshold workout should be around 30 to 40 minutes in length. You can do them as intervals as long as the total time adds up to be between 30 to 40 minutes, or you can just do a 40-minute straight effort. For me, I just prefer doing 10k straight, so that's why I signed up for this race. It also helps me to avoid going too hard if I were to do intervals. Of course, you can't only do threshold workouts even though the race is at threshold. There are other things to train to become a better overall runner. I'm sure you heard of speed workouts for the running economy benefits, VO2 max workouts for the oxygen capacity, tempo workouts for the speed endurance, Zone 2 to build your aerobic fitness, which means more mitochondria in your muscle cells. So as long as you do your best VO2, tempo, threshold and Zone 2 runs, you just increase the chance of getting a better performance during the race. So during the weeks before the race, you just tick off these workouts like a checklist. I won't go into detail of how to do the rest of these workouts. I think that will be too much for this video. If you watched my previous video about my mini experiment doing 4 consecutive days at Zone 2, I did that last Thursday to Sunday. One of the reasons why I did that because as a triathlete, I got VO2, threshold, tempo, Zone 2 for swimming and cycling as well. So the usual one long run during the weekend is not going to move the needle at all, especially if I'm competing against pure runners who are doing 100 or more kilometers a week. I needed to find a way to get a better aerobic stimulus. So instead of spreading my Zone 2 runs across a week, I concentrated them into 4 days. Because doing 110 kilometers in 4 days is definitely going to be a better stimulus than doing 110 kilometers throughout the week. Oh, and also because I only had 8 days to train for this race, because I just completed my bike block. You can watch my first break session where I couldn't even finish the workout in this video. After that workout, I did my cycling focus block, and then now I have 8 days to train for this race, which will be my first run block of this season. So as you know, the first 4 days of this run block was my Zone 2 running. Then I took 1 day of rest just doing a 1 kilometer easy swim. The day after that, I did 4 times 2.4 kilometers at 8:19, 8:19, 8:19 and 8:17. That didn't really fatigue me too much because the next day I did a 21k tempo run. The day after that I didn't run at all, only did 1 hour of cycling at Zone 2, and then it was a race the next day. I wasn't fully recovered from the tempo run for the race because it was my first good tempo run this year. And so with the fatigue, I did 36 minutes and 9 seconds for the 10k, and that was a very good threshold run for this block. This training structure is almost exactly the same as what I wrote in my 10k training plan which I'm selling. But of course not with 4 days straight of Zone 2 running. I only did 1 block of my plan and I'm already back to my peak fitness last year. So I'm pretty confident that this structure can work. Today is Saturday and I did my HIIT training in the morning. And tomorrow I have my most important workout for the triathlon, which is a 2-hour Zone 2 bike ride followed by a 21k tempo run. So to recap, the 10k specific training tips are: number 1, threshold is the most important workout, especially if your 10k is less than 1 hour. So you should do a threshold workout as a final workout 3 to 4 days before your 10k, because absorbing it will give you the biggest boost for the race. Number 2, my favorite threshold workout is just doing a 10k straight, and that's why I signed up for this race. Or you can do intervals that add up to 30 to 40 minutes of threshold. Number 3, remember to do your speed, VO2 max, tempo and Zone 2 runs as well. During the weeks before a race, just tick them off like a checklist. And if you did your best speed, VO2, tempo, threshold, Zone 2 runs before the race, you just increase the chance of performing well during the race. I think that's all the tips I can squeeze in one video. If you're looking for a longer video where I share all my running experience, I'm creating a course for those who are interested to increase their performance. It's definitely going to be much more valuable and helpful than just a training plan. So I'll let you guys know when it's finished. This season is just starting and I'm really excited for the races ahead. See you guys in the next video. Goodbye.